Today I am building a two-bedroom home in Windenburg. You'll see that I already have some of these trees laid out because I had a general idea of what I wanted the landscape to look like for the lot. I really didn't know what I was going to do for the actual structure yet, but I knew that I wanted the house to be sitting up on a little bit of a hill towards the back and having trees framing the front of it. And I really liked these sort of pine trees that I have in the like 3 row there, framing sort of like one part of the house. So that was the like layout that I was going for when I was starting this. Another part of the house that I knew that I wanted was that I knew I kind of wanted sort of like an octagonal tower area. It's not really a tower, but just as like a key feature in the structure itself so that I could use one of the rounded roof pieces. And so I kind of had that laid out first, and then I was just going to work on the rest of the shape from there. I was really just placing down boxes and rectangles and stuff until I liked the shape of it and I thought that there'd be enough space in the house itself. I also just had to adjust a little bit of this so it would fit the roof a bit better, and that was how I started the actual beginning of this build because I didn't know what I wanted for it. I just knew that I wanted it raised up on a slight slope and I wanted these trees. And I just picked out whatever trees I thought looked really nice together. I really love the trees that have white flowers in it. So I have 2 different versions of that mixed in with some other of my favorite trees that I think are some of my go-tos whenever I'm building a house. I don't know what packs some of them are from, but I do use at least like 2 base game ones in there, and then the other ones I have no idea what packs they're from. Maybe one is from cats and dogs. I really can't remember. I have a feeling that the more like whitish tree is from cats and dogs, but then the other green tree with a little bit less white flowers. I think that one's from cottage living actually. I really love the landscape stuff that comes in cottage living. I'm pretty sure that like when I'm doing the finishing touches of the landscape, I just sort by cottage living to pull out some of the live edit like little grass pieces that have little bits of flowers in it and stuff, and just little pieces of grass that grow out of the dirt pads and stuff. So, yeah, usually I think a lot of my landscaping items comes from cottage living. I was trying to find what stone walls I wanted to use for this house because originally I had this idea of it just being like an entire like stone estate looking house, but I ended up getting rid of a lot of the stone just because, I don't know, something just felt weird to me and I wanted to change it up a little bit. And I think I do keep some of this original stone that I placed down, but just not like every single wall using it. I used to switch in some get together stuff for this. I was also trying to make like a sunroom in this build, but I didn't like how it looked. And it also was a bit strange because I don't know how to explain this well. Oh, well, no, I do. Okay, the ceiling wasn't like disappearing when I was putting the glass like roof piece over there, and didn't know if that was gonna just be how it was, and I didn't like the look of it, and so I just scrapped the idea, and I ended up liking this a lot better. It's just like a little bit of a rounded decorative piece at the front that also uses another round roof piece, which does cut into the upstairs a little bit. I didn't think that this build was raised up high enough for that to be a problem, but there is a like ongoing issue in this game where if your house is like too high on either terrain or foundation, like round roof pieces will cut into the like rooms of your upstairs. I didn't think it was going to be a problem for this one, so I didn't even check when I was building this because I thought it would be like no issue. And this build was going to be completely unfurnished when I started it because I was like, I don't know if I want to commit to doing an interior for this build. Uh, and then when I went to like the inside of it, I had seen the roof piece and I was like, maybe I will furnish it then since I feel like I need to hide some of this. But I ended up like doing something in the middle where it's just like semi-furnished. So I blocked off that roof like piece that cuts into the inside with bathroom counters, and it was completely fine. You don't see it at all. And then like I actually really ended up liking doing the inside, and then I was like, maybe I should do it a full interior, but I didn't want to push myself because I am still not building as much as I usually build. And so I was like, no, I'll just stick with the like half furnished look for this, and it's a good sign that I was kind of wanting to do furniture for this one. I didn't though because I didn't want to like add too much into my editing and voiceover and stuff while I'm easing back into making videos again, which was a good choice just to do it half furnished. I love how it turned out on the inside though, and it definitely felt like a lot more inspiring to upload houses that people can just like furnish for their own families and stuff instead of me doing the same furnishings I always kind of do. That was like also I think part of what really like sent me into a bit of a building slump was just like doing interiors and kind of just like how long they take and me just constantly wanting to use the same items, and I felt like I was just doing the same things over and over again. At least with exteriors, I do use the same sort of things often, but each of them are like usually shaped very different. And like I usually used to think that my builds kind of looked the same. And then I went on my gallery while I was like saving this. I was like, oh, I think this is either my seventh or my eighth build of the year, which is like not a lot for me considering it's almost July. But anyway, I was like, okay, these builds do look very different from one another. So I think I just need to get out of my head that I think all of my builds look the same. But the interiors, I definitely feel like gets repetitive for myself, especially when I was building once a week. And so I actually really liked just doing the semi-furnished, which is really just me furnishing the bathrooms and the kitchen. So anything that like you'd buy a house and would kind of already be there, that's what I ended up doing. And I actually really liked taking the pictures for this one too. I don't know, it felt kind of creepy and stuff because I did add some lights in too, but it wasn't like very bright because it was just like a couple of wall lights here and there. And so I don't know, I really liked the creepy look of it. I did want to explain my thought process when adding these tiny little porches that have no function at all and how much I struggled with the side of the house and trying to find the right balance for it because I didn't like how the windows were sitting on the shape of the like square that I had. It just wasn't lining up right. And everything I was trying I didn't like, and then I tried to just like bring the roof out to the perfect sort of like size that I thought looked good with the windows. And I was like, yeah, I'll just put in these two porches. And I think it makes the back look really interesting, even if they are very tiny. And you could probably only fit out maybe a telescope, an easel, a chair, not a lot of stuff. I didn't put anything on there, but you could probably fit like one skill object on each of the little porches out there. I do really like how the ivy came out in this one. I did it a bit differently than I usually put ivy on my builds because I was using some of these other pieces that came with the like royalty and legacy expansion pack, and I was like blending them in with the get together ones that I really like, and I liked the way that they all looked together. I think adding in some of those different shades of green to the ivy really helped it to stand out a bit, have sort of like a popping feature in the like exterior walls than I usually do. And I really like how it turned out. And for like the windows and stuff, I used like a mixture of get together cottage living, and I don't know what the front windows were from. I think that they were from Royalty and Legacy, the front windows, but they also could have maybe been from Business and Hobbies, or maybe I was going back and forth on which windows I wanted to use, and I don't remember which ones I actually settled on because I don't use those windows very often, so I actually don't know which pack it's from. Normally, I'm just using Get Together and stuff, and I was going to try and use the Life and Death windows because I like the cracks in the windows, but I don't know, it just ended up not really fitting in the way that I thought it would because originally I did want it to be a bit more like worn down and stuff, and that's why I have some of these get together windows that look a bit old, but I don't know, I think that those windows that I used on the stone parts just looked a lot better and blended in a bit more. The other ones, even though I kind of liked the theme of it being broken down, it just stood out way too much from like everything else and like not in a good way either. And now I think I do the rest of the landscape, which makes me really love this build. This is one of my favorite landscapes I've done in a long time, and it was actually very simple to do. I was using some of these like mossy cobblestone pathways from Royalty and Legacy, and I mapped out a little pathway through the lot up a little hill and then also around the side towards like the back entrance of the build. And then I just started picking out flowers that I would use to frame the areas to just fill it in a bit more. And I, of course, I'm going towards some of the romantic garden stuff pack items because I really love the flowers and the bushes that come in that pack. I usually go for like red, but I was like, you know what? I'll go with pink this time. I haven't used pink in a landscape very like I don't think I've used it much at all. Maybe like a few times. I usually am going for like yellows or reds in my landscapes, but maybe I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've really paid attention to what I do after like taking a break and just not really, I guess, knowing what I was doing before I took the break. But I mixed in different flowers from the romantic garden stuff pack with the like hydrangeas from the Royalty and Legacy expansion pack that I think look really nice, and I mixed it in with some of those like ferns from Enchanted by Nature, which I haven't used in a lot of builds, but I think that they look really nice mixed in with just like all the rest of the landscape items, and so that might be something that I do a lot more often. Because, like, yes, some of the swatches won't really work for just, like, normal landscapes that, like, aren't for fairies and stuff, but that green one looks really nice, and I think looked better than if I used any of the other sort of ferns that are in, like, the base game and stuff. Because that's, I think, normally what I would go for. This one looks very polished and I think blends in really nicely with everything else that I was adding to the landscape too. I had some base game flowers that I put in just to fill in the space and create sort of like a larger flower garden area without having to put down a bunch of flowers, and I think that really worked. I put it in a few areas that just made sense lining the pathways. One thing I didn't mention that I did at the beginning of my video was that I didn't want these trees blocking a lot of the house, so I decided to lower the terrain where the trees are just a little bit, and so it's like not very noticeable from the front of the yard that the trees are lowered into the ground a little bit more. And like I'm pretty sure I used tool mod just before to lower one of them into the ground a bit more instead of raising the house up more. I was like, oh yeah, that was a good idea just to do that for it. I don't think I really ever think to do something like that, but it doesn't really affect the landscape much. Like, yeah, if you're zoomed in, you'll see that there is a little slope leading down from sort of like the street into the tree areas. But I don't know. I think it looks really nice and it helped to not make the trees block the entire house, especially for a gallery picture. They still are blocking it a little bit, but not as much as it would have. And then didn't have to make the house super high up because I was also thinking about the round roof pieces and I didn't want the build to be too high because I knew that if it was, I'd have to be careful with where I placed my round roof pieces, but apparently this is too high anyway and it still cuts through the walls. It was okay though because the bathroom counters do block it perfectly, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't affect like gameplay or like your Sims being able to walk to those areas at all. It's really just like an aesthetic thing. And yeah, so now I just continue to place some flowers around the lot, trying to like not make it look completely empty in some areas and just creating a little bit of definition and making it feel a little bit more real just by putting some dirt in some of the areas near the plants and stuff, making this wooded area actually feel like it's a wooded area and not just like trees that were planted perfectly there. And so I was like, okay, this has been here a while. I've got some dirt down there by those trees. I added in different heights of flowers to the sort of flower bed areas that I created to give it a bit more dimension, and I really like how it turned out. I mostly was just using the flowers from the, like, romantic garden stuff pack just to add a little bit of height into the flowers. I also use different sizes of the royalty and legacy, like bushes too, in some areas just to, like, make it stand out a little bit more and look a little bit more full. I ended up lining pretty much like the entire back pathway over here with a lot of pink flowers, and I really love how it turned out. You probably had seen it in the very beginning of the intro of this because I made sure to take some zoomed in pictures of the landscape because I really like how it turned out. And normally for me hiding the like, when I raise up the terrain and I'm trying to hide the terrain paint that's underneath of it, I usually put a whole bunch of rocks, like live edit rocks, and use the tool mod to lower it in. And I didn't do that for this one, but I also, like, don't really mind the terrain paint for this lot specifically. It kind of looked nice. And so I just put some base game, like, grass and some of those enchanted by nature bushes around, and then I lined some of it with some just base game rocks, and I think it really just helped to create some definition in the landscape without having to just, like, use the huge rocks that I was using in a lot of my builds. Because, like, you could even see that the terrain paint for this slot really isn't too bad. It's just a little bit of stone, which I actually really like. Some of them are, like, really harsh, and I don't like those. So I usually cover it completely with as many rocks as I possibly can. But this one, I just had to put some plants around just to make it look a bit full and not completely plain and boring in the back. And so I really think that the back has way more flowers than the front of this lot ended up having. And I did really only use, like, 5 different flowers that I mixed around the entire place. Feel like it helped it to, like, seem cohesive, but not, like, super repetitive. It's like they just like these plants, and so they scattered it around everywhere that they could, and, like, different variations too, which I think really helped. And over here, I was like, "Wow, this is a big empty spot. I'm just gonna plant some of these bushes around and fill in the space a little bit, but I do not want to have to create a whole bunch more of these flower gardens." And so I'm like, no one's even going over there anyway because there's no pathway over there. So it kind of made sense to me just to leave it a bit plain and focus my energy on areas that actually kind of was near the pathway and near the house. So now I'm creating a rock garden that has the plants inside towards the front because it's right by the front door. So it kind of makes sense that they wanted this place to look a bit nicer than some of the other areas. And those are the same base game rocks that I line this slope. I probably start it now. Yeah, so I'm adding the base game wild grass around. I think I need to use tool mod to lower these a little bit, but the base game stones, I don't really use tool mod at all. I think I lowered, like, maybe 1 rock into it, but everything else seemed like it worked. And the, like, grass really helped to, I guess, create a level ground with the rocks a bit more, so I didn't have to worry about them looking like they were floating. They're definitely floating, but when I was doing it, it felt like they weren't floating too much for me to really care or need to lower them around. And also, they kind of sit on top of each other a little bit, almost like creating like a step up to each rock, which I felt like was enough. And I didn't line the entire raised up area with them. It ends up, like, stopping at some point, which I felt like was also fine. It really just lines the, like, front of the house with that pathway, because the other ones would have probably just taken too much time and really, I don't think would have added much to the actual landscape. And then I just kept using these enchanted by nature bushes in any of the areas that was just open grass because I thought they looked really nice. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm just going to put those around where there's a little bit more empty spaces. And then I sort by cottage living, like I said earlier, and I just pull out some grass with some of these white flowers because I thought it would look nice by the trees. And then I pull out just a little bit of these grass pieces too. I add it to the dirt. I don't think I actually add it to the pathways. I usually do, but I felt like the moss on the cobblestone was enough. And really, I just like adding that grass to like dirt pathways most of the time. This already has a little bit of green, so I didn't have to do that for this. I did put some cracks on these windows. Like I said that I kind of wanted the cracks in the life and death windows, but it stood out too much, and so I just used some of the vampire wall cracks and I put them on those windows, and I did some of the holes that also come with that pack and I place it around just to add a little bit more character to the outside of the build. And I felt like this mailbox from Get Together fit this lot perfectly. I don't really often use that mailbox. So I was like, wow, this one's like a perfect fit for it. So I'm going to make sure that I have that. And I needed a trash can out here. So I added it in like the little garden area where the picnic table is because that area made the most sense. And I wanted a bird bath. And so I'm pretty sure I added like 3 of these around because I liked them and I felt like they really added just like a little bit more stone into the landscape around the place. And so that's what I ended up going with for those. And now you get to see the part where I was like, oh no, this roof is cutting in. I also do lower that roof that's poking in at the top. I lower it down so you don't end up seeing it. I don't do that until I'm like working on the floor plan though, because at first I'm like, yeah, that's not bothering me too much. But I was like, I could just lower the roof peak. It doesn't make that much of a difference. But yeah, at first I was like, okay, I can hide this with bookcases, and then I end up changing that idea and I just did a bathroom there, which allowed me to not have to commit to furnishing a full build because I was like, okay, if I don't furnish this entire build, but I have these bookcases here, someone can download this build, be like, I don't want these ugly bookcases here. I'm going to change it. And then they're going to delete it and be like, wow, this person was trying to cover up their sloppy work with the roof poking. And so it's like, I'm going to try to hide it with the bathroom because I don't know. I feel like maybe I could get away with it a bit better. And so I was trying different like floor plans or I guess like different variations of where these items could go. And I mean, I thought I could put the tub there. You could still see the roof though. And that's when I was like, oh, this kind of works a bit better is just covering it with the counters. But then I couldn't figure out where this shower and tub would go. So I had to change it a little bit. I ended up just going with 2 regular sized counters because right now it's 1 counter and like a half counter. But I was worried that the sink wouldn't work, and I felt like maybe it would work because there is like half a tile, but I didn't want to like commit to it if it wasn't gonna work. And so I was like, all right, I could just fit 2 counters in here, and you could kind of see the roof there still, but not as bad. I think it's okay. Like for that, I did the best that I could. The only thing that would have made it, like, better, like, hidden more would be if I was able to fit in 3 counters over there instead of just 2, but because of where the window was, I didn't want to, like, move things around. The bathroom would have been huge. I wouldn't have been able to fit a bedroom up there because there is just enough space for a double bed up there in that room. And then I made a smaller bedroom down here that's like right there to the left, or like the front of the build where the rounded roof piece is, but downstairs. And I think that would be enough space for like a single bed. It could be an office too if you wanted to make it that, which I also really liked about building this and just like kind of thinking of what other people could make some of these spaces without me furnishing everything because I definitely would prefer to download something that isn't furnished and do it myself. So this is a good option for people who are also like that. And I'll probably do this again. Maybe even my next build might be sort of like semi furnished. We'll see how that works out. And again, I don't know if it's going to be next week. I'm still figuring out like what's possible for my upload schedule and stuff. I was planning on having this one last week, and then that didn't end up happening because then I got busy. So I just pushed it off to not rush myself and just, start this week instead. And we'll see what I come up with if I do have a build next week. And I know that I had said that I was going to try a Paralives video, but I just I kind of scrapped the idea for now. I was really struggling with learning new build tools and stuff, and my audio was kind of messed up in that. So I just took it as a sign that maybe it's just not for me right now and to just wait a little bit and then see, because I'm in a building slump as it is. So trying a new game with different tools that I don't know how to use was just not the right time for me. So maybe one day I'll try again. But yeah, I'm glad that I was able to get this build done. And this one I finished in a lot faster of a time than my last upload. So that's some progress too, that I'm back to being able to actually build a little bit more quickly and not just not know what I'm doing and taking a million pauses and breaks to finish a build. Because this one, I think, I don't know how many breaks it took me. It might have taken me a week to do this build, which isn't so bad lately. That's pretty good for me recently. And for the inside, I picked out some flooring. I went with the cottage living wood floor throughout most of it and just picked out some tiles that I liked for the bathrooms and the kitchen. Don't remember what packs these were because I don't recognize them that much. I think one of them might be from For Rent. I know I love one of those ones, so like there is a good chance it might be that one. And I kind of used the same sort of wallpaper throughout, like this base game pink floral wallpaper, which I'm now realizing kind of makes sense for the outside, where the outside has a lot of pink flowers and the inside has the pink wallpaper. Just made that connection now. That wasn't my intention at all, but I used the different variations of that wallpaper. So I have one with the wood at the bottom. I have one room that has the full wallpaper with just a little bit of the trim, and then I think I had yeah, in the dining room area, it is just white wainscoting on the bottom. So I just used that in different areas of the house. And that one has a different one too. I didn't know there were so many variations of this wallpaper, because usually I just use the one that is in what I thought would be the living room. I mean, I don't know what else would be the living room. That's probably the only one that makes sense. I mean, that little room that I made the dining room could probably be a tiny living room. That could even be a study if you didn't want a dining room. You just wanted the space outside to work as a dining room. It could really be whatever. I changed up the tile in the kitchen because I had to add some windows in here. It just wasn't making sense that there wasn't any windows. And I was like, okay, these life and death windows fit perfectly. And now I just want the wallpaper to actually not look strange with these windows. So I used, I think those are Realm of Magic ones. I don't know. I use this that wallpaper with that tile in a lot of kitchens, but I don't often use it in the pink variation, which I think looks nice, especially with the other wallpapers that I used throughout this downstairs. Pretty much all of the wallpapers, I think, sort of have the same vibe. I do have some yellow in the bathrooms, and the bedroom upstairs I did green and red, but I actually really love how that room came out. I really like the combination of the flooring and the wallpaper in there. I was really excited. And that was the room that made me consider just furnishing this because I really liked how it looked, but I also love how it looks empty, and we'll see the pictures in a little while because now all I'm doing is adding in some of the lighting, which I was like, oh yeah, I should add lighting around this place because it makes sense to actually have light fixtures in here because that would come with the house if you're buying it. And so in the bedrooms, I just put sort of one wall sconce on there, a couple here and there, because I was like, you'll add lamps probably to a bedroom. I don't usually have either a ceiling light or a wall sconce in the bedrooms. I normally have lamps And here are the screenshots for this build. You can find it on my gallery, the Cracked Kyber. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. The lot name is the summer home. I just took the name of the lot in Windenburg, and that's the name on the gallery. I also tried something a bit different because this house isn't furnished. I have a little thing that is going to pop up to show you where you are in the house so you could kind of follow which room we're in for the build. So that was sort of like, I guess, a pantry. It leads to the back area. This is the first bedroom downstairs. This is the first bathroom downstairs. It's right across the hall from it. This is the living room space. I also added in a fireplace. Kind of is weird under the window, but I felt like that was the best space. This is the dining room. It's pretty small, but I think it could fit a table just fine. A tiny little kitchen off to the back. Now we're upstairs. This is just a hallway leading to the large bedroom upstairs. And finally, the last bathroom that is upstairs attached to the bedroom. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It was great getting to talk to you all again, and I will see you all soon. Bye.